Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really tough question, one that's right at the heart of AI. What does it even mean for an algorithm to be fair?
All right, let's kick things off with a scenario that honestly might hit a little closer to home than you'd think. Picture this. You're applying for something really important, a loan, a new job, maybe even getting into college, and an AI is making the call. Now, 95% accuracy, that sounds amazing, right? Like a huge success. But this is the big mystery we're going to unravel today. How a model that looks practically perfect on paper can be hiding a really serious and very human problem. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we're going to need the right tool for the job. And in the world of machine learning, that tool is called a confusion matrix. I know, it sounds a bit complicated, but stick with me. It's actually a pretty straightforward way to see what an AI is really thinking. All right, let's really get into this. See, a confusion matrix helps us get past a simple single accuracy score and lets us see the whole picture. It's not just about if the model got it right or wrong, but how it got it right or wrong. That's the key. So here it is. It looks simple, right? Just four little boxes. But this grid organizes every single possible outcome. Across the top, you've got what the AI predicted. And then down the side, you've got what actually happened in the real world. Let's break down each of these boxes.
First up, the true positive. This is the best case scenario, the perfect outcome. The model works exactly as it should. The bank approves someone who deserves the loan, and hey, that person pays it back. Everybody wins. Simple as that.
Then we have the false positive. Now, this is a costly mistake, but for the bank. The AI said yes to someone it shouldn't have said no to, and the bank ends up losing money. You know, in statistics, they call this a type 1 error. But this one, the false negative, this is a devastating mistake, and it's devastating for the individual. This is a person who would have been a great customer, who would have paid back that loan, but the AI wrongly rejected them. It's a huge lost opportunity. Statisticians call this a type 2 error, and this is where unfairness so often hides. All right, so as we start our investigation into fairness, our first suspect is the simplest approach out there. It's called demographic parity. And in theory, it sounds pretty good. The idea here is really simple. It just says that if, say, 20% of people from Group A get approved for a loan, then 20% of people from Group B must also get approved, no matter what. It's all about making sure the final outcomes are equal across the board. And this is exactly the kind of problem demographic parity is trying to fix. You can see the AI is approving people from Group A at literally double the rate of Group B. At first glance, it doesn't look fair at all, does it? But, and this is a big but, here's the fatal flaw. To force those approval rates to be equal, the model might have to start doing some pretty weird things. Like, it might have to deny perfectly qualified people from Group A, or start approving totally unqualified people from Group B, just to hit a quota. You see the problem? This metric completely ignores whether someone actually deserved the loan in the first place. So that leads us to a more nuanced approach. Let's see how this next idea builds on the last one. It's called equality of opportunity, and it really is a big step in the right direction. Okay, this is a huge improvement. We're not just looking at the final approval rate anymore. Now we're asking a much, much smarter question. We're asking, of all the people who actually should get a loan in each group, what percentage of them does our model correctly identify? And crucially, is that rate fair across the groups? And this chart just lays it out so clearly. Look at this. The model is way, way better at finding the qualified applicants in Group A than it is in Group B. I mean, 90% of the deserving folks in Group A get their loan, but only 60% of deserving folks in Group B do. That's not equality of opportunity. That's a clear opportunity gap. So, okay, equality of opportunity is a massive improvement over just forcing the outcomes to be the same, but it's still only telling us half the story. It's great at making sure qualified people are treated fairly, but it completely ignores what happens to the unqualified applicants. It doesn't look at the other side of the coin. And that brings us to the main event, the most rigorous standard in our whole investigation. This is what this explainer is all about: equality of odds. And what it does is it takes the best of what we've already seen and combines it into one really powerful definition of fairness. So, for a model to achieve equality of odds, it has to meet both of these pretty demanding conditions at the exact same time. It's not enough to be fair to the people who deserve a yes. It also has to be fair when it makes mistakes about the people who deserve a no. So condition number 1, the model absolutely has to give qualified applicants in every single group an equal shot at getting approved. This is just like what we saw with equality of opportunity. The true positive rate has to be the same for everyone. And then there's condition number 2. It also has to make mistakes on the unqualified applicants at the same rate for all groups. You see what this does? It makes sure no single group is unfairly getting loans they don't deserve more often than another group. It's about being fair in both your successes and your failures. Okay, so it seems like we found it, right? Our most robust, most complete definition of fairness. Equality of odds. It seems like the perfect solution. But this leads us to a final and pretty difficult conclusion. And here's the tough pill to swallow. Mathematicians have actually proven that it is literally impossible for a single algorithm to satisfy all definitions of fairness at the same time, especially if the groups you're looking at have different underlying realities. So choosing to be fair by one metric, like our gold standard equality of odds, might actually force you to be unfair by another metric, like demographic parity. And that really is the question we have to leave you with. If perfect mathematical fairness is impossible, how do we decide which kind of unfairness we're willing to live with? Who does an algorithm get to fail? You see, this isn't just a technical problem for data scientists to figure out anymore. It's a social and ethical problem for all of us. It forces us to have a really tough conversation about what values we care about most and how we bake those values into the code that is, more and more, running our world.